I remember the night everything changed, not because something dramatic happened, not because anyone screamed or cried or stormed out the door. No, it was quieter than that. Sometimes the things that break you don't shatter loudly. They crumble like old paint on a forgotten wall, silently falling piece by piece until one morning you wake up and realize the wall is bare. My name is Evelyn Ward, and what I'm about to tell you is not just the story of my daughter Ariana's unraveling life. It's the story of how I lost her, how I fought for her, and how I almost didn't make it back. If you have ever loved someone so deeply that their joy feels like your heartbeat, you might understand. And if you haven't, then perhaps this story will teach you what love demands of us. Ariana was 22 when the storm began. But to me, she was still the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest while I sewed dresses late into the night. My late husband, Marcus, used to joke that Ariana didn't learn to walk in our house. She glided. She floated. There was always something ethereal about her. Marcus died when Ariana was 15. Cancer took him slowly, painfully, cruelly. And the day we buried him, Ariana clung to me with both arms and whispered, "Mom, I'll never leave you alone. It's just us now." I believed her. Or maybe I needed to believe her. But love, especially young love, has its own gravity. And Trevor Elwood had a way of pulling people in. The first time Ariana brought Trevor home, I felt something I still cannot name. He was polite, attentive, handsome in a careful, curated way. His hair too perfect, his smile practiced, the kind of young man who knew mirrors too intimately. He shook my hand firmly, complimented the house, complimented my cooking, complimented Ariana in that possessive tone men often use without realizing it. But what unsettled me was that when he spoke, his eyes rarely softened. Even when he smiled, they remained sharp, calculating. As if he were assessing every word you said, measuring its usefulness. I brushed it off as my own protectiveness. Every mother fears the moment someone else becomes the center of her child's universe. But this was something else, though I didn't know what yet. Ariana was glowing that night. I hadn't seen her smile like that in years, not since Marcus died. She looked light, breezy, alive in a way that scared me. Because joy that intense has one enemy: the fear of losing it. A week later I met Marilyn Elwood. That woman could curdle milk just by entering a room. She was tall, elegant, impeccably dressed, and wore a perfume so expensive it smelled like old money dipped in arrogance. When she first walked into my home, her eyes swept across my living room the way a critic scans a cheap play. Polite smile, thin lips, and a silent judgment louder than applause. "Oh," she said, her voice coated with pity. "This is cozy." Cozy. Not nice. Not warm. Cozy. The word sat in the air like a silk glove slapped across my face. But I swallowed it. For Ariana. Marilyn kissed her son on the cheek, as if he were still a prince she had birthed for the sole purpose of ruling kingdoms. Then she turned to Ariana and said, "You look lovely, dear. That dress is almost elegant." Almost. My daughter laughed softly, brushing it off the way children brush off harmless rain. She didn't know yet that some rain carries poison. Dinner was suffocating. Marilyn talked about her charity events, her board memberships, the Elwood family's legacy, and Trevor's brilliance. Every sentence was a polished trophy. Every glance in our direction was a reminder that we were not like them, that we would never be like them. I said little, listening, watching, swallowing the bitter taste of something I later realized was the beginning of fear. After they left, Ariana sat beside me at the dining table, resting her head on my shoulder like she used to as a child. "Mom," she whispered, "I really think he's the one." I hugged her gently. "If he makes you happy, that's all I care about." She didn't hear my heartbeat change. She didn't feel me stiffen. She didn't see the shadow forming. How could she? She was in love. But I saw something that night I wish I hadn't. As Trevor guided Ariana out the door, his hand on her back wasn't tender. It was controlling. And the way he looked at her, no, the way he looked at me while holding her was not affection. It was possession. But I stayed silent. Because mothers often swallow their instincts to protect their children's joy. I didn't know that silence would cost me more than I had to give. Started with small things. Ariana visiting less often. Ariana missing our Sunday dinners. Ariana laughing nervously when I asked if everything was okay. Ariana wearing clothes she never chose before. Sleek, neutral tones, more expensive, more structured, more Marilyn's taste than her own. Then she told me she got a job at the Elwood Foundation. Just part-time, she said. Marilyn insisted. Insisted. That word echoed with warning. But Trevor was there constantly now. Picking her up, dropping her off, calling her, texting her. First, I thought he was simply protective. But then I noticed things. Ariana's smile shrinking. Her eyes darting downward. Her voice softening, cautious. Her hands fidgeting when she spoke about him. Those were signs I recognized too well. Women often learn to read fear the way sailors read storms. Still I said nothing. I told myself I was imagining it. Until one Sunday afternoon when she came home. And she was not alone. Ariana walked in looking pale, her makeup smudged, her eyes puffy. Trevor followed 2 steps behind her, his expression tense but controlled, like he was managing a situation rather than supporting a fiancé. I approached them. "Ariana, sweetheart, what happened?" She opened her mouth, but Trevor answered first. "She's just overwhelmed. You know how emotional she can be." Emotional. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Ariana looked at him quickly with fear. Or was it guilt? No, fear. She didn't speak. Trevor placed his hand on her waist. Gently. Too gently. The kind of gentleness that hides bruises of the heart. Then Marilyn walked in right behind them, uninvited as though my home were merely an extension of hers. "I told her," Marilyn sighed dramatically, touching her forehead, "that she must learn to handle pressure better. Being with an Elwood isn't easy, Evelyn. It requires composure." Ariana's shoulders dropped. Something inside me snapped very quietly. "What pressure?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended. Trevor answered before Ariana could breathe. "Wedding arrangements, lifestyle adjustments, meeting expectations. She's still learning. Still learning. Learning what? To be acceptable? To be quiet? To be theirs?" I looked at my daughter. Her lips trembled. "Ariana," I whispered, "do you want to talk alone?" Trevor's hand tightened on her waist. "She's fine," he said smoothly. That was when something clicked in my mind. The smallest shift in Ariana's posture, the flicker of fear she tried to hide, the way Trevor's shadow seemed to swallow her light. I forced a smile. Of course. My mistake. But inside, something dark had awakened. Trevor and Marilyn stayed another hour. They spoke. I listened with clenched teeth. Ariana barely spoke at all. When they finally left, the silence in the house felt like the aftershock of an earthquake. Ariana turned toward me, eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. "Mom, don't be mad." "I'm not mad," I said softly. "I'm worried." She sat on the couch, burying her face in her hands. "It's just, Marilyn thinks I need to be more presentable for the engagement party. And Trevor says I get overwhelmed too easily. I'm trying, Mom. I'm trying to be better." "Better?" My heart cracked. "What does that mean, sweetheart? Better than what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she sobbed into her hands until her entire body shook. I held her. I whispered to her. I stroked her hair the way I did when she was little. And while she cried, I made a silent promise. "I will not let them break you." But I didn't realize then. It was already happening. Piece by piece. Invisible to her. Obvious to me. Terrifyingly deliberate. The engagement party was held at the Elwoods estate. A mansion so extravagant it felt less like a home and more like a museum dedicated to wealth. Ariana looked beautiful that night. But her beauty felt borrowed. Her dress was chosen by Marilyn. Her jewelry by Trevor. Her hairstyle by Marilyn's stylist. She looked perfect, stunning. But not like herself. Trevor hovered around her like a proud owner displaying a prized possession. Whenever she slipped away from him, even for a moment, his eyes narrowed, scanning the room until he found her again. Marilyn introduced Ariana to everyone as our lovely future addition, Evelyn's daughter. "She's adjusting very well." Adjusting. Another jab. Throughout the evening I watched Ariana apologize whenever she laughed too loudly, whenever she spoke too long, whenever she mispronounced a guest's name, whenever she ate too little or too much. She was shrinking, right before my eyes, and I felt helpless. Near the end of the night, I overheard Trevor speaking to one of his uncles. "She just needs refinement," he said casually. "Mom's helping. Once she's settled into our lifestyle, she'll be perfect." Perfect. As if she were clay being molded. As if being my daughter had made her imperfect. I stepped outside for air. I couldn't breathe in that place. It felt like the walls were closing in, whispering that I wasn't enough, that my daughter wasn't enough, that everything about us was too small for their world. But then something happened that clawed at the edges of the truth. Ariana stumbled out onto the balcony, her face pale, her eyes frantic. "Mom," she whispered, gripping my arm. I don't feel good." "What happened?" She shook her head. "I don't know." I suddenly felt dizzy, confused, like I couldn't breathe. Trevor appeared behind her. "She's fine," he said sharply. "It's the champagne. She can't handle it." But Ariana had only taken 2 sips, and her symptoms looked nothing like drunkenness. Something isn't right. I helped Ariana sit down and held her hand until her breathing slowed. Trevor hovered nearby, agitated, irritated, as though Ariana's weakness was an embarrassment. When Marilyn finally joined us, she gave her son a disapproving look. "Take her inside," she instructed softly. "We don't want guests seeing her like this." Like this. As though Ariana's distress was a stain on their reputation. Trevor nodded, pulling Ariana up by her arm too firmly. She winced, and something inside me roared. "Stop," I snapped, stepping between them. "She's not an object to drag around." Trevor's jaw tightened. Marilyn's expression frosted. Ariana looked terrified. I softened my voice for my daughter. "Sweetheart, come with me." But Marilyn stepped forward, placing a hand on Ariana's back. "No, Evelyn. She should come with us. She belongs with her future family." "Her future family," said right in front of me, as if I were already being erased. Ariana's eyes filled with tears again, but she didn't pull away from Marilyn. And in that moment, for the first time since she was born, I felt my daughter slipping out of my grasp. Not physically, emotionally, spiritually, completely. A week later, Ariana moved in with Trevor. She told me she needed space to become the best version of herself. Her words, not hers. Not really. Marilyn's voice lived inside them. Trevor's too. The day she packed her bags, she avoided my eyes. "Mom, please don't make this harder." "I'm not trying to make it harder, Ariana. I'm trying to understand." She hesitated, then whispered, "You wouldn't understand their world. Their world. Not hers. Not ours. Their." I looked at her small suitcase, filled with clothes she didn't choose, jewelry she didn't buy, dreams she didn't dream. "Ariana," I said softly, "don't lose yourself." She smiled weakly. "I won't. I promise." But the promise felt hollow. Empty. A shell of a truth she no longer owned. Trevor arrived to pick her up. He didn't greet me. He didn't thank me. He simply took her suitcase, placed his hand on her back, and guided her out the door like she was property. Ariana turned back for one last look. "Mom." And then her voice broke. I opened my arms. She rushed into them, shaking, breathing hard. "I love you," she whispered, clinging to me. "Please don't hate me." "Hate you?" I whispered into her hair. "I could never. I just want you safe." Trevor cleared his throat loudly. Ariana flinched. She looked at him, then at me. And then she let go. Just like that. She walked out the door. Trevor closed it behind them. I listened to their footsteps fade. And then I stood alone in the silence of a house that had always been ours, but now felt emptier than the day Marcus died. It wasn't until the following month that I learned the truth, or rather, the first piece of it. Ariana wasn't just living with Trevor. She wasn't just adjusting. She wasn't just learning their world. She was being groomed, controlled, manipulated. So, she would be trapped in a way far darker than anything I had imagined. And I, her mother, would be forced into a nightmare that no woman, no parent should ever face. But that part of the story comes later. For now, all you need to know is this. The day Ariana left my home, I felt something cold settle in my chest. A warning. A whisper. Promise. Something is terribly wrong. And whatever it is, it will come for your daughter. And it will come for you too. I never liked quiet houses. Ever since Marcus died, silence felt like a presence. Something that hovered, watched, waited. After Ariana moved out, that presence deepened. At night, I found myself stopping mid-step, expecting to hear her laughter trickle from her room, or the faint hum of her music bleeding through the hallway walls. But the house stayed still. Cold. Unchanged. I tried to distract myself. My sewing work, the neighborhood kids who sometimes stopped by to have their dresses mended, the local church market where I occasionally volunteered, but everything felt hollow. The first week after Ariana left, she called me twice. Short calls. Rushed. She always sounded tired, her voice low, her words carefully chosen, as if she were reading from a script. "Everything's fine, Mom. I'm adjusting. Trevor's been great. Marilyn's really helping me." Helping her what? Become smaller? Become less herself? But I didn't push. I told myself she needed time. Then the calls stopped altogether. I waited. A day, then two. Then a week. I sent her a message. She replied with a heart emoji and nothing else. I sent her another, no reply. When I called, it rang once, then went straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. I felt it in my bones. One afternoon, after 3 weeks of silence, I drove to the Elwood estate. I told myself it was just to check on her, to see her face, to hold her hand. But beneath that, something darker pushed me: fear. Fear of losing her completely. The Elwood estate was as intimidating as ever. Iron gates taller than most houses, manicured hedges shaped like swans, a long driveway lined with marble statues. Everything about the place screamed wealth, power, and the illusion of perfection. I pressed the intercom button. After a moment, Marilyn's voice drifted through the speaker, smooth and dismissive. "Who is it?" "It's Evelyn. I'd like to see Ariana." A pause. A long one. Then, "Oh, Evelyn. Well, Ariana isn't available at the moment. She's resting." "Resting? At 3 in the afternoon? I'd like to wait." "I'm afraid that won't be possible. She's been very overwhelmed lately. It's best for her to stay calm." "Marilyn," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady, "I need to see my daughter." Another pause. Then she said something that tightened my chest like a fist. "You need to understand, Evelyn. Ariana is building a new life. We're helping her grow. Sometimes growth requires distance." Distance. A polite word for separation. A gentle word for exile. I swallowed hard. "I just want to talk to her." "Well, she's not in a state to talk. And I don't want you upsetting her with unnecessary concerns." Unnecessary concerns. My blood heated. "Where is she, Marilyn?" A sharp click echoed through the speaker. She had hung up on me. The gate remained closed. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I wanted to ram it, break through, storm the house, take Ariana home. But all I did was sit there, staring at the gilded family crest on the gate, the symbol of a dynasty that believed it owned everything it touched, including my daughter. I drove home with numb fingers and a heart that felt too heavy to beat. A week later, Ariana appeared at my door without warning. She looked smaller, fragile, almost translucent, as if someone had drained the color from her skin. Her once bright brown eyes looked clouded, distant, unfocused. "Mom," she whispered, and her voice cracked on the single word. I pulled her into my arms, feeling how thin she had become. She trembled against me. "What's going on? Talk to me." "I'm okay," she said quickly, too quickly. "I just needed to see you." Needed. Not wanted. Needed. I guided her inside, made her tea, sat her on the couch. She held the cup as though it weighed 100 pounds. Her hand shook. "Ariana," I said gently, "why haven't you been calling?" She stared at the floor. "I've just been busy." "With what?" Her lips pressed together. "The foundation. The house. Marilyn wants me to attend all these charity lunches. And Trevor. He just wants me home more." Home. The Elwood estate was not her home. But I didn't say it. I placed my hand over hers. "Sweetheart, are they treating you well?" She nodded automatically, too automatically. "Ariana," I whispered, squeezing her hand. "Look at me." She did, and for a moment I glimpsed my daughter, my real daughter, inside those tired eyes. But before she could speak, her phone vibrated. "Trevor." Ariana flinched at the screen. She showed me the message. Only 2 words. "Where are you?" A cold shiver ran down my spine. "Just tell him you're at Mom's," I said softly. She hesitated. "He doesn't like me coming here without telling him. Doesn't like. Controlling. Suffocating. Dangerous." She typed a reply anyway. Her fingers shook. Then her phone vibrated again with his response. Ariana's face drained of color. "What did he say?" I asked. "It doesn't matter," she murmured, closing the screen quickly. But I saw it. Just a flash. Just one line. "Come home. Now." The word home made her exhale sharply, as if the message carried weight. "I should go," she whispered. "You just got here." "I know. But he'll worry." "No, he would get angry." She stood up, but her knees buckled. I caught her, shocked by how weak she felt. Her pulse fluttered beneath my fingers like a trapped bird. "Ariana, are you sick?" "No," she said too fast. "Just tired. Really tired." I cupped her face in my hands. "You don't feel safe there, do you?" Her breath hitched. Her eyes glistened. For a moment, she looked like she was about to collapse into truth. Spill everything, spill her fear, her pain, her suffocation. But then she blinked. And the wall came back up. "I'll be fine, Mom. I promise." She pulled away, nearly stumbling as she hurried out the door. I followed her outside, watching her get into the sleek black car Trevor had bought her, a gift she hadn't wanted, and drive away like someone fleeing a crime scene. I stood on the porch long after the car had disappeared. The wind felt cold. The sky felt too wide. My heart felt like it was cracking. Something was happening inside that house. Something terrible. And Ariana was drowning in it. The next incident happened 3 days later. A neighbor, Mrs. Kelly, knocked on my door, her face pale with concern. "Evelyn," she said, "I don't want to alarm you, but I saw something." "About Ariana?" She nodded. I was at the mall yesterday and I saw Ariana and Trevor. She looked unwell. My throat tightened. Unwell how? She was walking behind him, not with him. Her head was down. And Trevor, he was speaking to her not nicely. Not loudly, just sharply. Sharp words cut deeper than screams. What did he say? I asked. She hesitated. I couldn't hear everything. But I did hear this. Don't embarrass me again. The words hit me like a slap. Ariana? Embarrassing him? Mrs. Kelly continued, her voice trembling. Evelyn, she looked scared. My chest constricted. Did she see you? Yes. I waved. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I nodded slowly, thanking her, but inside I was unraveling. Something was deeply wrong. But I didn't know how wrong until the following weekend. Ariana invited me to brunch. At a cafe, neutral territory. That alone felt intentional. As if she didn't want to bring me inside the estate. She arrived 10 minutes late, makeup carefully covering how exhausted she looked. Her wrist was red, faintly bruised. She kept pulling her sleeve over it. Sweetheart, I whispered. What happened to your arm? Oh, that? Nothing. I slipped on the stairs. The Elwood estate had marble stairs. Slippery. Hard. But something about the way she said it felt rehearsed. We ordered coffee. She picked at her food. Her hands trembled again. Ariana, I said softer this time, do you want to come home with me? Just for a few days. Her eyes softened. For a moment she looked ready to say yes. But then her phone buzzed. Trevor again. One look at the message and her entire expression changed. She stood abruptly. I need to go. Ariana, wait. She leaned in and kissed my forehead. I'm okay, Mom. Really? Then she hurried out the door. I watched her through the cafe window. The moment she stepped outside, Trevor grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to draw attention, but hard enough to make her flinch. They spoke. He leaned in, hissing something near her ear. Ariana nodded quickly, apologetically. He didn't look at her like a fiancé. He looked at her like someone who had failed him. And that was when I understood something that changed everything. Ariana wasn't just being pressured. She wasn't just overwhelmed. She wasn't just adjusting. She was afraid. Deeply, constantly afraid. And fear like that doesn't grow overnight. It grows in shadows. It grows in isolation. It grows in silence. Trevor and Marilyn had created exactly the environment needed for that silence. And Ariana was living inside it. Trapped. That night, as I lay awake, I remembered a conversation I once overheard between Marilyn and another wealthy woman years ago. It was at a charity event I had accidentally been invited to by a client whose dress I had altered. Marilyn had said something that felt snobbish at the time, but now struck me as something far more sinister. People like us don't marry for romance. We marry for legacy. For alliances. For what benefits the family name. Family name. Legacy. Alliances. Back then I had rolled my eyes internally. Now I felt cold all over. Was Ariana an alliance? An asset? A pawn? And was I the only one who saw it? But things didn't escalate until the night Ariana called me at 11:47 p.m. Her voice was shaking. Mom, she whispered. Can I come over? Yes, I said immediately, standing up, grabbing my keys. Are you okay? I don't know. Are you safe? A long pause. Then, I don't feel safe. My heart stopped. I'm coming to get you, I said. No, she said quickly. Just stay awake until I get there. Sweetheart. Please, Mom. Just wait for me. The line went dead. I threw on my coat, pacing by the window, watching the road like a hawk. My hands shook. My breath felt shallow. Every second stretched into an eternity. 20 minutes later, Ariana's car turned into the street. She got out quickly, rushing toward the house. And the moment she stepped into the porch light, my breath caught. Her cheek was bruised. Her left wrist was swollen. And her eyes, her beautiful brown eyes, were red, panicked, broken. Ariana, I gasped, reaching for her. She collapsed into me, sobbing so hard her whole body trembled. He didn't mean to, she whispered through tears. He was just stressed. I shouldn't have said anything. It's my fault. My entire body went ice cold. No, I said firmly, holding her face. No, it is not your fault. Look at me, Ariana. Look at me. She looked up, and for the first time she let the truth show. There was fear, shame, confusion, pain, and beneath it all a desperate plea. Mom, save me. What happened? I whispered. She shook her head violently. I can't. If I tell you, it'll get worse. It can't get worse than this. Yes, she whispered. It can. You don't know what they're capable of. They. Not just Trevor. They. Marilyn too. What did they do to you? I asked softly. Ariana swallowed. Mom, I think they're hiding things. Money things. Legal things. Trevor made me sign papers I didn't understand. Marilyn said it was normal. And today I found out something. What did you find out? Ariana looked over her shoulder, as though afraid someone followed her. Then in a trembling voice she whispered, I think they're planning something. Something involving me. And if I leave, if I mess up their plans, they'll destroy me. My throat closed. What plans, Ariana? She shook her head, sobbing again. I can't say. Not yet. I pulled her into my arms. You're staying here tonight. You're safe with me. But as I hugged her, I felt her body tense suddenly. And when I turned, I saw why. A black car had parked across the street. The lights were off. The windows were tinted. And though I couldn't see inside, I knew. Trevor was watching. Marilyn too, perhaps. Ariana froze. Mom, I think they followed me. I pulled her inside and locked the door. My heart hammered in my chest. But one thing was suddenly terrifyingly clear. This wasn't just a toxic relationship. This wasn't just manipulation. This wasn't just control. This was something darker. Calculated. Organized. Dangerous. Ariana wasn't the only one at risk now. So was I. And neither of us knew yet. This was only the beginning. I didn't sleep the night Ariana came home bruised. I stayed awake with her curled against me, breathing unevenly. Her fingers tangled tightly in the fabric of my sweater, as though she feared letting go might make her vanish. Every few minutes she jolted awake with a gasp, whispering, Is he here? Did he follow me? And each time I whispered back, You're safe. He can't get you here. But even as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them. By sunrise, Ariana had finally drifted into a fragile sleep. I watched her, my beautiful daughter, my only child, lying on the couch wrapped in blankets like a wounded bird. She looked so fragile, so breakable, that I felt something unfamiliar rise in me. Not fear. Not worry. Something colder. Sharper. A mother's rage. I didn't know what Trevor and Marilyn were planning, but I knew one thing. Whatever it was, it had begun to strip my daughter piece by piece, until she no longer recognized herself. I could feel her slipping, fading, dissolving into their world like a drop of ink lost in a sea of bleach. But I wasn't going to lose her. Not again. Not to them. Around 7 in the morning, Ariana woke up suddenly, sitting upright as though pulled from a nightmare. Her breathing came fast. Her eyes darted around the room until they landed on me. You stayed up. Of course. She closed her eyes, pressing her palms against her face. I shouldn't have come here, Mom. I wasn't thinking. They'll be angry. Sweetheart, I said softly. You are not going back there. Her hands fell to her lap. She looked up at me, her expression torn between relief and dread. I don't know if I have a choice. Yes, I said firmly. You do. She shook her head. You don't understand. They'll come for me. She didn't mean it metaphorically. She meant it literally. I sat beside her, gently taking her hands. Ariana, tell me what you're afraid of. She hesitated, chewing on her lower lip the way she used to when she was 5 and scared to confess she broke a vase. But this was no broken vase. This was a broken life. Finally, she whispered. They made me sign things, Mom. My heartbeat quickened. What things? I don't know. Papers. Documents. Contracts. They said it was for the foundation, for charity work, for tax reports, but I never read them. So asked to see them again. I can't. Her voice shook. Marilyn said once I signed something, I should trust that she knows what's best. A chill raced down my spine. What did Trevor say? He said a fiancé should support her future husband without questioning him. Fiancé should support. Not understand. Not consent. Just support. What kind of documents were they? I pressed carefully. She swallowed hard. Some had my name listed as beneficiary. Others as cosigner. A few had the Elwood Company logo on them. Beneficiary. Cosigner. Company documents. My stomach dropped. Did any of them mention money? Ariana's jaw tightened. She looked away. Yes. How much money? She shook her head. I don't know. A lot. When I asked, Marilyn said, Don't worry about the numbers, dear. You'll learn to understand wealth eventually. I gripped her hand. Ariana, did they force you? They pressured me, she whispered. They guilted me. They told me I was part of the family now, and that loyalty mattered more than anything. Loyalty. The first weapon of manipulators. And last week, she added, her voice trembling, Trevor made me sign something else. He said it was routine. But it didn't feel routine. It felt wrong. My heart pounded. What do you think it was? Ariana hesitated. I think they're putting things in my name. Things they don't want traced back to them. Illicit assets? Hidden liabilities? Financial laundering? But why Ariana? The answer came as soon as I asked myself the question. Because she was young. Because she trusted them. Because she was legally independent. Because she came from a family without wealth. Meaning no one would question her sudden involvement in theirs. Because she was easy to manipulate. What happens if you refuse to sign anything else? I asked quietly. Ariana froze. Trevor said, if I ever disobey him again, he'll make sure I regret it. Regret. A threat wrapped in silk. I couldn't breathe. And Marilyn? Ariana's voice dropped to a whisper. She said a woman who can't support her husband's ambitions is useless. I clenched my jaw. Mom, Ariana whispered. I'm scared. I think they're planning something. And I think they need me as part of it. What do they need you for? I overheard them 2 nights ago, she said, voice shaking. They didn't know I was listening. What did they say? Ariana swallowed tightly. Marilyn told Trevor she already spoke to a lawyer. She said the papers are ready, and all that's left is for me to sign one more document. What document? Ariana shook her head helplessly. I don't know. But Trevor said, he said once everything is finalized, they won't have to worry about me leaving. Ice flooded my veins. Won't have to worry about you leaving? She nodded slowly, then whispered 3 words that changed everything. I think they're planning to trap me. Not protect. Not support. Trap. But what kind of trap? Marriage trap? Financial trap? Legal trap? Or something worse? Before I could ask more, a car door slammed outside. Ariana flinched violently. Mom, she whispered. They're here. I rushed to the window. Parked across the street, same as before, was the sleek black car that had followed her. The engine running. The driver's silhouette barely visible. Ariana's breathing grew rapid. They know I'm here, she whispered, clutching her arms. They always know. I turned from the window, grabbed her shoulders gently. You're not going anywhere. But Trevor is not in charge of your life. Her voice trembled. Mom, they don't follow rules. Neither did I when my child was in danger. I took a breath, steadying myself. We're calling the police. No, Ariana cried, grabbing my hand. You can't. They'll twist it. They have money, lawyers, connections. Marilyn knows judges, senators. She'll destroy us. Not just her. Me. The target wasn't just Ariana. It was both of us. Because they didn't just want Ariana obedient. They wanted me silent. Ariana stepped back, shaking her head rapidly. I shouldn't have come. I've put you in danger. Ariana. Mom, please. I can handle this. I just need to talk to them before they get angry. Handle this? Talk to them? Angry? Those weren't the words of a woman in a relationship. Those were the words of a hostage. I grabbed her wrist gently. You're not safe with them, she whispered. I'm not safe anywhere. Then before I could stop her, she pulled her hand away and ran. Out the back door across the yard, disappearing through the alley behind the house. Ariana! I shouted, chasing after her. But she was too fast, too terrified, too determined. By the time I reached the alley, she was gone. The black car across the street pulled away slowly, as if satisfied, or as if following her. For the next 2 days, Ariana didn't come home, didn't call, didn't send a message. I barely slept. I barely ate. I walked from room to room like a ghost, replaying every moment, every cry, every tremble in her voice. On the 3rd morning, someone knocked on my door. 3 slow knocks. I opened it cautiously. Marilyn stood there, poised, elegant, cold as marble. Behind her stood 2 men in expensive suits, lawyers. And Trevor. His eyes were darker than I had ever seen them. I didn't speak. My throat was tight, my hands trembling. Marilyn smiled politely, but there was venom behind it. Evelyn, she said, we need to talk. I didn't step aside. She stepped closer. Ariana is home, she said smoothly. Safe. With her fiancé where she belongs. I exhaled a shaky breath. Then let me talk to her. That won't be possible, Marilyn replied. Why not? Because she's resting. And because she asked us to handle things on her behalf. No, I whispered. No, she wouldn't. Marilyn raised an eyebrow. You think she prefers to live in this environment? Live a small, unstable life with no future? Don't be ridiculous. She knows where she belongs. Trevor stepped closer, adjusting his cufflinks. Ariana's fine. She just needs space from your overreactions. Overreactions. My blood boiled. She came to my house bruised, I snapped, terrified, begging for help. Marilyn's jaw tightened ever so slightly. Trevor smiled thinly. She tripped. On your hand. I shot back. Trevor's eyes glinted. Watch yourself. Then one of the lawyers stepped forward holding a folder. Mrs. Ward, he said calmly, Ariana requested that we deliver this to you. My stomach twisted. What is it? Legal documentation, he said. As of last night, Ariana has signed a formal declaration stating that she no longer wishes for you to interfere in her relationship with Mr. Elwood. The world tilted. What? He opened the folder, revealing a stack of papers with Ariana's signature. She also signed a statement confirming that any injuries she sustained were accidental and not caused by Trevor. No, I whispered. She wouldn't write that. She did, Marilyn said, her voice cool. And she also signed a restraining request. My breath stopped. What? Trevor crossed his arms, smirking. She wants you to stay away for your own good. For my own. I couldn't form words. The lawyer continued. Ariana also legally appointed Marilyn Elwood as her temporary financial advisor due to overwhelming stress and concern for her decision-making. My knees went weak. That gives Marilyn the authority, he added, to manage Ariana's documents, accounts, and contracts. My heart slammed against my ribs. You tricked her, I whispered. You coerced her. You manipulated her. Marilyn's eyes turned icy. Careful, Evelyn. Where is she? I demanded. Where is my daughter? Trevor stepped closer until he was inches away from me. She's where she belongs, he said softly. And you will not see her again unless she wants you to. I felt sick. So that's it. I whispered. You isolate her? Control her? Trap her? Trevor leaned in even closer. You have no idea, he breathed, what we're capable of. Then he stepped back. Marilyn handed me a business card with a fake sympathy smile. If you ever need to contact us, she said, don't. They turned to leave. I felt everything inside me cracking. Fear, rage, grief, and something else. Determination. As they reached the car, I spoke. You may control her now, I said, my voice trembling but strong. But I'm her mother. And I know my daughter. I know when she's afraid. I know when she's being hurt. I know when she's being used. Trevor paused, turning slightly. And I will not stop until she is free. Marilyn stiffened. The lawyers exchanged glances. Trevor gave a single cold smile. Then I'll see you in court. They got into the car and drove away. I stood in my doorway shaking, breathless, devastated, but not defeated, because now I understood something critical. Ariana hadn't signed those papers. Not willingly. Not knowingly. Perhaps not at all. Marilyn and Trevor weren't just manipulating her. They were trapping her legally, financially, emotionally, socially. And I had just been warned what came next. This wasn't a family dispute. This wasn't a relationship problem. This was a war. Trevor believed he controlled the board. Marilyn believed she controlled the players. But they had forgotten one thing. A mother who smells danger does not retreat. She becomes something else. Something unstoppable. Something relentless. Something they never planned for. I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, and whispered to myself, you want a war? You just got one. I didn't leave the house for hours after Trevor and Marilyn walked away. I stood by the window, staring at the street as if Ariana might suddenly appear, running back to me the way she did when she was little and scraped her knee. But she didn't come. The sun dipped low, the streetlights flickered on, and still the world remained too quiet. Quiet in the way danger often is before it strikes again. I read the documents they had left. My hands trembled as I held them. Ariana's signature was there, elegant, neat, familiar. Yet something about it felt off. Too perfect. Too uniform. Ariana's real signature had a tiny loop at the end. A careless flick she'd picked up in college. The one on these documents lacked that loop. Forged. They were forging my daughter's compliance. The restraining request was written in language Ariana would never use. I wished to minimize unnecessary emotional disruptions. Unnecessary emotional disruptions. That wasn't Ariana. That was Marilyn. Ariana wrote like she spoke, with warmth, softness, and small imperfections that made her human. This document read like it came from a boardroom, not a broken girl begging for safety just 2 days before. My hands shook harder. I whispered to myself, they're trying to erase me from her life. Because if I was out of the picture, Ariana had no anchor. No witness. No support. No one left to tell her she was being used. It was a strategic move. Calculated cruelty. But they underestimated one thing. A mother who has already buried a husband does not fear the powerful. She fears only losing her child. And that fear becomes something sharp enough to cut through iron. I called the police the next morning, not to report Trevor or Marilyn, but to test the waters, to see what would happen. I gave a simple statement. I believe my daughter is being coerced. The officer on the phone sighed before I even finished speaking. Is she over 18, ma'am? Yes. Is she physically injured at the moment? I don't know. They won't let me see her. Has she made a statement saying she's unsafe? Not in writing. But, ma'am, he interrupted, unless your daughter claims abuse herself, we can't act. I clenched my fist. She did come to me injured. Do you have photographs? No. I was too busy trying to comfort her. Then we don't have evidence. 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 They wanted bruises photographed like trophies. Tears recorded. Fear quantified. I can get evidence, I said through stiff lips. Ma'am, without your daughter's cooperation you won't get far. Especially if the Elwood family is involved. My heart froze. What do you mean? Another sigh. Longer this time. Hesitant. The Elwoods are influential. They're involved with political donors, charity foundations, community partnerships. Cases involving them tend to get complicated. Complicated. Meaning messy. Meaning protected. Meaning untouchable. My silence stretched. The officer lowered his voice. Ma'am, if you want advice off the record, find a lawyer before you speak to us again. A lawyer? For what? A custody battle over an adult child? A legal war against a wealthy family? A fight that would drain everything I had? But then I looked at Marcus's photograph on the shelf, his warm smile, the arms he always wrapped around Ariana during thunderstorms. He would have fought. He would have torn down the world for her. So would I. I went straight to the only lawyer I could afford. A small-time attorney named Daniel Pierce, known around town for being stubborn, sharp, and honest. He looked at the papers for a long time, tapping his pen, frowning deeper with every page he turned. Finally he said, "These signatures are off." My chest tightened. "You see it too?" "I'm not saying forgery yet," he said, "but I'm saying they're suspicious. And that restraining request? Completely inconsistent with how coercion victims behave." "She didn't write it," I whispered. "I know she didn't." Daniel nodded. "I believe you. But belief isn't enough. We need leverage." "What kind of leverage?" He leaned back, exhaling slowly. "We need to get Ariana alone. Away from Trevor. Away from Marilyn. Somewhere safe. Somewhere she can talk freely. She's scared to talk. Because she's being controlled," he said flatly. "This isn't just manipulation. This is strategic isolation. Classic coercive control. And it often involves financial motives." "Financial?" My stomach sank. "What kind of financial motives?" Daniel tapped the page with Ariana listed as a cosigner. "This is a liability transfer," he said. "The Elwood Foundation has been under quiet investigation for fraudulent asset reporting. Nothing public. But if Ariana signed what I think she signed," he looked up, eyes sharp, "they might be using her to hide their liabilities." My breath caught. "You mean using her legally?" "Exactly. If something collapses, if money goes missing, if investigations dig too deep, she becomes the fall guy. The responsible party. Fall guy. Responsible party. My daughter the scapegoat. And with you removed," Daniel added, "she has no outside influence. No one to question anything. No one to protect her. That restraining request wasn't just about keeping you away. It was about isolating Ariana completely." My hands went cold. "So what do we do?" I asked. Daniel closed the file. "We fight smart. Quietly. Strategically. We gather evidence. We watch. And we wait for the Elwoods to slip up. And trust me, they will." I left his office feeling a strange blend of fear and hope. Fear because the Elwoods were far more dangerous than I had realized. Hope because now I wasn't alone. But that hope didn't last long. The first real clue came to me unexpectedly. Through a phone call I almost didn't answer. It was Tuesday afternoon. I was sewing a wedding dress for a client, trying to distract myself, when my phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello." A shaky voice whispered on the other end. "Mrs. Ward." "Yes. It's Jessica." "Jessica." I frowned. "I'm sorry, who?" "I work at the Elwood Foundation," she whispered, voice trembling. "With Ariana." My heart skipped. "Ariana's coworker?" "Yes." I don't know how long I can talk. But I needed to. I needed to tell someone. My chest tightened. Tell me what? She inhaled shakily. Ariana isn't okay. She hasn't been okay for a while. I swallowed hard. What's happening to her? Jessica hesitated. Fear bleeding through the silence. Trevor comes to the office. Every day. Sometimes twice a day. He watches her. He stands behind her desk and reads her emails. My hands clenched. He tells her who she can talk to, who she should avoid. He screens her messages. I felt sick. And Marilyn, she comes too. She brings Ariana new clothes, tells her what to wear, how to look, how to sit. She criticizes everything. Yesterday she told Ariana her voice was too emotional for staff meetings, and she should speak only when spoken to. My heart pounded. And, Jessica whispered, her voice breaking, the papers, they're real. They're making her sign financial transfers. And she doesn't know what they mean. I closed my eyes. Do you know what Trevor is planning? Jessica's silence stretched long enough to make my skin crawl. Then she whispered, I think they're preparing something big. Something illegal. And Ariana. She's the only name on the documents that isn't connected to the Elwood family. Oh God. They're going to pin it on her. I breathed. I think so, Jessica whispered. And I think they're planning to do it soon. A cold wave washed over me. Jessica. Why are you telling me this? You're risking your job. I know, she whispered. But Ariana's kind. She doesn't deserve this. And yesterday she cried in the break room. She said she wished someone would help her. She didn't say your name, but I think she meant you. My heart cracked. She did, I whispered. She always means me. Jessica inhaled shakily. Mrs. Ward, whatever they're planning, it's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow. Do you know where Ariana is right now? No, she breathed. But Trevor called the foundation this morning. He said Ariana won't be in tomorrow. Marilyn said she has a final obligation to complete. Final obligation. Final. The word stabbed through me. Mrs. Ward, Jessica whispered, voice trembling. Please help her. Please. Before it's too late. The call ended abruptly. I stood there frozen. Tomorrow. Something big. Something illegal. Something involving Ariana. Something that could destroy her. That night I couldn't sit still. I couldn't eat. I paced from room to room, replaying Jessica's words, replaying Ariana's fear, replaying Trevor's threat. If he ever embarrasses him publicly, he'll make you pay. At 10 p.m. I decided to go to the Elwood estate. I didn't care about the restraining request. I didn't care about consequences. My daughter was in danger. When I arrived, the estate was eerily quiet. Only a few dim lights glowed in the vast windows. I parked across the street and watched. A shadow moved behind the curtains on the second floor. Ariana's room? Trevor's? Marilyn's? Then I saw two silhouettes, one tall, one slightly shorter, standing close, arguing quietly. Trevor and Marilyn. Their gestures were sharp, aggressive, deliberate. Something was wrong. I stepped closer to the gate. Then I heard a sound, a faint cry like someone muffling sobs. I froze. It came again. A choked, painful sound of someone trying not to be heard. Ariana. I dropped to my knees near the hedge, straining to hear. Yes, Marilyn hissed, her voice muffled but recognizable. She'll sign it in the morning. I'll make sure of it. Sign it. In the morning. My heart thudded. Trevor's voice was sharper. And after that? What then? After that, Marilyn said coolly, she'll be irrelevant. Irrelevant. My whole body trembled. Trevor gave a harsh laugh. And her mother? A pause. Then Marilyn's cold whisper. We'll handle her too. Quietly. No. 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 This wasn't just about Ariana. They wanted both of us gone. Permanently. If I stayed here, if they saw me, everything would collapse. I crept back toward my car slowly. Until I saw movement. Someone was coming out the front door. Not Trevor. Not Marilyn. Ariana. Barefoot. Shaking. Arms wrapped around herself. Eyes swollen from crying. She stepped outside for only a second before a hand yanked her back inside. Trevor. He grabbed her arm. Hard. Too hard. Ariana cried out. My nails dug into my palms. This is the last night she will ever spend in that house. I will make sure of it. I drove home with my hands numb on the steering wheel, my heartbeat banging against my ribs like a frantic warning drum. Every streetlight flickered past me like a countdown. Tomorrow. They were planning something tomorrow. Something Ariana would not recover from. Inside the house, I paced like an animal trapped in too small a cage. My mind raced, tangled, twisted with fear. But then I saw something on my kitchen table. Ariana's scarf. Soft. Blue. Frayed at the edges. The same one she wore on the night she graduated. The same one Marcus had bought her. The same one she used to wrap around her shoulders whenever she felt cold or nervous. She had left it behind. Or perhaps dropped it. My hand shook as I picked it up. Smelled like her. That was when something inside me shifted. Slowly, intensely, permanently. Fear stopped trembling. It hardened. I took my phone and called Daniel, my lawyer. He picked up on the second ring. Daniel, I whispered. They're forcing her to sign something tomorrow. Something dangerous. Something final. Do you know what it is? No, I breathed. But if she signs it, she'll lose everything. Maybe her freedom. Daniel didn't hesitate. Then you need to get her out. Tonight. But I can't get inside the estate. Her voice, he said calmly. She told you what's happening. Record it. Every detail. Every bruise. Every fear. Legally, emotionally, her verbal testimony is the crack in their armor. So what do? You wait for her to call. She will. Victims always reach for the person they trust most. I hesitated. But what if she doesn't? Daniel's voice softened. She will, Evelyn. She has no one else. I waited. Minutes. Hours. Nothing. The night dragged into dawn. Still nothing. And then at 6:12 a.m. my phone rang. Ariana. Her voice was paper-thin. Mom. I'm scared. I know, sweetheart. I know. I have to sign something today, she whispered. They said it's urgent. Marilyn said if I don't, something bad will happen. What will happen? I don't know, she cried softly. But she said it involves you. My breath stopped. Mom. Her voice broke. Can you come get me? I closed my eyes in relief and pain. Yes. Yes, baby, I'm coming. No, she whispered sharply. Not the front. Please. They'll see you. Go to the side gate. I'll sneak out. That was all I needed to hear. I grabbed my keys, my bag, and Ariana's scarf. I drove like a woman possessed. When I reached the estate, the sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in pale pink and purple. Birds sang. The world felt too peaceful for what was happening. I parked far from the gate, crouched low, and approached the side path Ariana had mentioned. My heart hammered. Then I saw her. Ariana. Running. Barefoot. Breathless. Terrified. She rushed into my arms, trembling, clutching her chest. Mom, hurry, we have to go. But a shout tore through the air. Trevor. Ariana. He was running toward us. Fast. With 2 security men behind him. Ariana screamed. I grabbed her hand. Run. We ran. Through the trees. Crossed the gravel. Toward the car. Trevor's voice roared behind us. Stop her. Ariana stumbled. Caught her. Mom. Mom, they'll kill me, they'll kill you. We're almost there. Keep going. We reached the car. I shoved Ariana inside and slammed the door. Trevor lunged. I started the engine. Trevor punched the window, cracking the glass. I floored the gas. The wheels screeched. Gravel flew. The car shot forward. Trevor stumbled back, screaming Ariana's name as the estate disappeared behind us. A mile down the road, Ariana curled into herself, crying into her hands. Mom, she sobbed. They won't stop. They'll come for us. I reached over, gripping her shaking fingers. No, sweetheart, I whispered. We'll come for them. We didn't go home. We went straight to Daniel's office. Ariana was shaking so hard I had to hold her just so she could walk. Daniel brought us inside immediately, locked the door, lowered the blinds, and sat Ariana down gently. You're safe here, he told her. Tell me everything. And she did. Her voice trembled, cracked, broke, but she spoke. Every bruise. Every threat. Every forged document. Every night she cried alone in her room. Every whisper she overheard between Trevor and Marilyn. Every fear she swallowed for months. And finally, the document they wanted her to sign that morning. A transfer of liability for a large sum of charitable funds that had gone missing from the Elwood Foundation. $28 million. They said if anything happened, I'd be responsible, Ariana choked. Daniel's hands tightened around his pen. They're laundering money under Ariana's name. And if the government investigates, I breathed, she goes to prison. Ariana collapsed into tears. I didn't know. I didn't know. Oh, sweetheart, I whispered, pulling her close. It's not your fault. They trapped you. No, Daniel said firmly. They trapped the wrong person. Daniel contacted federal investigators immediately. He showed them the documents, the forged signatures, the evidence, the recordings. He explained everything Ariana told him. They listened. They took notes. They asked questions. And then they asked to meet Ariana in person. She told them everything again, this time through tears she didn't hide. An hour later, the lead investigator said words I will never forget. Ms. Ward, you are not the suspect. You are the victim. And we are opening a full-scale investigation into the Elwood family effective immediately. Ariana broke down crying. So did I. The arrests came 2 days later. Marilyn first. Then Trevor. Then 2 foundation accountants. Ariana didn't watch the live news. She sat holding my hand, shaking quietly, while the world saw the Elwood empire crumble on national television. Trevor Elwood and Marilyn Elwood have been taken into custody for large-scale financial fraud, coercion, witness intimidation, and falsification of legal documents. Ariana pressed her face into my shoulder and sobbed like a child. Mom, it's over? I kissed her hair. Yes, baby. It's over. The courtroom hearings lasted weeks. But Ariana didn't have to testify alone. I stood beside her every time. Trevor glared at us with cold hatred. Marilyn sat stiffly, her pride finally collapsing under the weight of justice. But the truth is stronger than wealth, stronger than manipulation, stronger than the chains they tried to wrap around my daughter. Ariana was officially cleared of all charges. Trevor and Marilyn were sentenced. And when the judge asked Ariana if she had anything to say, she stood slowly, trembling, clutching my hand. My mother saved my life, she whispered. And they almost took me away from her forever. The courtroom fell silent. Trevor looked away. Marilyn closed her eyes. And the judge nodded solemnly. When it was all over, when months of fear drained from Ariana's body, she came home with me. Back to the little house with the warm kitchen and soft blankets and the scarf Marcus bought her. One night, months later, Ariana came to my room quietly, hesitantly. Mom. Yes, sweetheart. She crawled into the bed beside me like she used to when she was 7. I'm sorry I left you, she whispered. I held her close. You never left me. You were taken. But I'm back now. Yes, I whispered, brushing her hair. You're home. She rested her head on my shoulder. Mom. Do you think I'll ever be myself again? I kissed her forehead. You already are. And in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, with Ariana breathing softly against me, I realized something. Trevor and Marilyn may have tried to break her, but she survived. We survived. And for the first time in a long, cruel journey, we were free.